Good morning.
Hello? Okay, there we go. Thank you, Vijaya. Yeah, since you asked, I'm Mihir Valavalkar, and that's Peter Murkic. Thank you for having us and giving us this stage. Nice to see everyone in the room today. This light is really bright, so I was worried that I was not going to be awake. I'm jet lagged. I flew in from New York, but this is
You're awake now.
It's awake now. I'm awake now. So obviously, Peter, we heard a lot about what's happening in the region. Changing audiences, AI, personalization, piracy, etc. But I just wanted to focus our topic today on a few interesting things. We only have 15 minutes, but I wanted to see if we can cover some ground. With Todd obviously starting 4 years ago with the previous World Cup, there was Todd 1.0, and then I guess since you've joined a few months ago, and we've obviously known each other for a while, but within the Todd context, what was the rationale behind getting from Todd 1.0 to 2.0?
Yeah, thanks, Mihir. And I think that's a very good question to ask at this point in time. The streaming industry here in the Middle East, I think, is going through a revolutionary change. And I think, some of our colleagues before had talked about some of the developments that were taking place. But for us, it was about increasing the level of engagement with our subscribers. Our previous version was very much a one-dimensional platform, which customers would come and consume sports in a real-time fashion, and that would be it. They would leave and we would lose them. So what we wanted to do is pivot away from that and try and keep them on the platform. So obviously we use the sports to acquire the customers, bring them on the platform, and then we keep our entertainment options open so that customers stay on the platform. But what we wanted to do is go further than that, and we wanted to increase the level of engagement on the platform. So when we partnered with LiveLike, we were able to introduce functionality that enable customers to our subscribers to be part of the experience. So in real time, being involved in the event, so watching the football live, being able to comment on certain events if there was a goal or a penalty or whatever it may be, and inviting their friends and families to be able to participate in those activities. And what we saw was that drove engagement even further. Why? Because the customers were staying on our platform for a longer period of time. And not only that, once they'd actually completed watching the game or whatever sporting event was on at that time, they were able to then start to look at other options that were available on our platform, and namely around the entertainment. So we're able to keep them longer on our platform. And I think that's the challenge for most operators in this region, right? There's so many of us out here in the Middle East, North Africa region. There's nearly 60 of us operating in this market. And it's about, winning the war for the eyeballs, right? Making sure that the customer stays on the platform. And so by partnering with LiveLike, we've been able to do that and introduce that additional functionality.
I appreciate the shout out, but specifically, in terms of what is it about the audiences in this region? Obviously, I'm new to the MENA region specifically. I grew up in India, but I obviously live in the US, and most of our customer base has been in the US and Europe. From a MENA perspective, from a demographic perspective, what is it about the specific audiences over here that needs this?
Very good question. And they're very much a youth audience. And so when I refer to youth, I mean they're in their early 20s, sort of mid to late 20s, early 30s. And so they're very much focused on the social, I call them the social generation. They're very, they're always on two devices. They might be watching sports, they may be on the social media, looking at other things and trying to bridge the two together, inviting people to discuss and so forth. So we wanted to make sure that we could introduce a level of engagement on that platform, which kept the customers on our platform. And so they were able to continue viewing the experience. Now, in terms of the demographics, as I said, they're very young and they're very socially savvy, which is not my unfortunately, I'm not a very socially savvy guy, but the reality is that we needed to introduce some form of engagement, and by introducing the gamification element that we've done on Todd, we're able to keep them onto the platform. So we did things like introducing like quizzes, trivia, asking in terms of who they think might win the game and so forth. And what we noticed is that they were able to then use this to start inviting others or actually commenting on the social platforms that they're also on at the same time.
I mean, speaking of socially savvy. I mean, even myself, I'm in my 40s now, but New York Times, I've been a regular subscriber for, I don't even know how long at this point in time, decades. And I find myself gravitating more and more towards the games that New York Times provides. I mean, that's something that we've actually incorporated into our portfolio as well, which is there is something to be said about engagement during the live matches, but then there is also something about how do you keep them coming to your platform. I mean, you have a really, really diverse array of portfolios, sports properties, but also entertainment content. So using these games, I find myself religiously going to New York Times every night, completing my connections, completing my Wordle. And I think personally, seeing that across all of the sports properties that I engage with has been a game changer, because from my standpoint, it allows me to be competitive with my friends, show off my knowledge. There's like a lot of behavioral psychology that goes into all of this. Curious, obviously you guys it's leading up to the World Cup. It's a big year for you guys next year. How do you foresee yourself leveraging this gamification, whether it's the games or whether it's more Duolingo style retention mechanics? How are you thinking about it?
Yeah, good question. Look, it's all about immersiveness, and we want to create an immersive experience. I mean, watching the World Cup is one thing, and of course it's going to be available through Todd and the beIN Media Group. But of course, keeping the customers on the platform is also important, and making them engage on the platform and ensuring that they're able to, participate in those as part of the World Cup event. So what we want to do is we want to use, as I mentioned before, the gamification element, where we introduce real-time polls about who they think might make it to the knockout stages, looking at other gamification elements such as trivias, polls, watch parties as well, and all sorts of elements such as that. But I think the most important thing for us is to make sure that customers are able to feel like they're part of the journey, they're part of the actual event itself, right? And by introducing all of these additional elements, we think that will increase the engagement and the overall immersive experience that we hope to deliver.
I mean, one of the things that I was thinking about is, especially the previous panel brought it up, but piracy. What gives your fans and your audiences?
The bane of my existence.
Sorry?
It's the bane of my existence.
Yeah, I mean, honestly speaking, if you can get your content, I was having a couple of conversations with rights holders the last couple of days. They were saying that the traffic to their websites have gone down because audiences are just going to ChatGPT and asking what's the score of the match, or you're going to Google and you just see live scores. So the reason for those same fans to come to the official website for scoring is not there anymore. So then what is their reason for the website to exist? And my argument was, you need to give them something else that makes them want to come to your platform and not go to a pirated site. So yes, those audiences that are just interested in the live content will go to the pirated content, but there has to be something else that the platform provides them from an experience standpoint.
Absolutely, and that's exactly right. That's why we pivoted to Todd 2.0. So it's not just about the game and the live experience. We have a raft of statistics and information that's presented in real time. So we know, who's playing during a match. This particularly for football. We know what goals, when the goals have been scored. We also know what passes and everything. So we have a very extensive array of information and data that we present to the user so that they can actually catch up in terms of what's going on. Moreover, we also have a select number of highlights in terms of where we just classify what kind of the goals that were happening, or short, medium, as well as the full matches and so forth. But it's all about furthering that. It's about making sure that customers are able to engage in our platform. And with all of the information that's available there, they can then use that as a lever to discuss with their friends in terms of, what may happen in the next event and so forth.
I guess for the audience that's in the room, I think it might be interesting for them to know how you guys, I saw James up here talking about it earlier as well from a technology and product standpoint. What goes into structuring the teams internally to actually effectuate a change like this?
Well, we start with the customer at the heart of everything we do, Mihir. So we have a voice of customer where we listen to what our customers are seeking in terms of our platform. And when we take that information or we take that input and we start to introduce that into our product planning lifecycle. So if there's certain features that are missing from the platform, or there's certain things that customers would like to see, for example, we talked about the data and the gamification, we've introduced that. So it's not only just a one-way street. We work collaboratively from our marketing teams, our sales teams, our product teams, and our technology teams, and we work collaboratively to be able to develop an end-to-end process in terms of any new features or functionality which our customers may be seeking. Now, of course, we have two different types of customers. We have the direct-to-consumer customers, which I think some of our colleagues were talking about before, and we also have B2B. So a lot of our B2B partners are interested in certain functionality and features, and we try and incorporate that And we work, as I said, as a collaborative and as a team to be able to deliver that functionality.
Just because we have a couple of minutes left, LiveLike, obviously, I personally, I'm a big Formula One fan. I spend a lot of time on the Formula One subreddit group.
Come to Todd.
Yeah,
Come to Todd.
That's right. I'll need some VPN access from the US. But, for me, that power of the community, I have no idea who these people are, but I know who's going to post on a Friday before the race, who's going to post during the race. That power of community is a big part of my Formula One fandom. And it's not necessarily how I watch NBA or tennis, but Formula One specifically. How do you guys look at community specifically, or building communities around the sports or entertainment content that you have?
Yeah, it's very important for us. And so what we try and do is as you mentioned before, we also have a number of events that we do. We try and have watch parties. We also organize live events within certain markets that we operate in, but also more specifically, given that we're a digital destination, we also have those engagement on the platform. So when there's an event on, as we said before, we ask customers to participate in terms of what they think of who's going to win the race, or what they think about changes to a particular team and so forth, and where they see the drivers changing maybe teams next year and all of that. So it's about giving the customers an opportunity to participate. And what we found is that this drives further engagement, because more customers will then ask others, or they will ask their families and friends, as I keep referring to come back onto the platform and look at other features that we may have, or other content that we may have on the platform. And so that helps us drive that engagement. And that's also important for us to reach new customers as well, because a lot of the things that we're trying to do as well is to reach a wider audience. And of course, we're all competing for the same customer. But of course, if we have the ability to use one customer to invite their family and friends, it's also driving our subscriber base numbers.
I mean, we've obviously grown up. I grew up with SportsCenter and ESPN. I mean, it was the water cooler moments, right? Like, you watch Game of Thrones the night before, the next morning you're going to the office and talking about what just happened, type of a situation. And AI is going to only make that easier to drive those types of conversations in real time. So yeah, I'm excited about where you guys are taking the platform. Happy to play a small part in the journey, but that tells me that time's up in real bright red.
And I think, it's just the beginning, the gamification. Obviously this takes us further in the future, right? We can look at other aspects, and this is also about driving loyalty with customers. And well, that's one element, in the sense that we all want to make sure that we can keep our customers on our platform as long as possible, right? There's options for customers right now. Of course, different operators will provide different content to different customer segments. But if we're able to keep the customer on the platform as long as possible, and if we're able to reward their loyalty, what we see is that they're more likely to stay with us a little longer, and we'll be able to use the features that we have, and also invite other customers or other friends to become customers on the platform.
I mean, just a parting thought from a gamification perspective, especially in the streaming world, because you have to just work harder to gain the customer loyalty and keep them on. I mean, the whole bundle and all the advantages that the cable bundle had, and the fixed line and the fixed set-top box had, are gone now. So you have to work harder to keep the customer on your platform. What that also means is that a one sport fan might churn once that sport is off season, but digital allows you the chance to actually get to know your customers better and cross-pollinate them across different content that you have. So I think that's where I think a lot more room for growth. But on that thought, I don't want to keep the next panel up for too long. Thank you so much for being on stage, and thank you to everyone for listening in. Appreciate it.